Hi guys, here's great. Oh.
Perfect. Nailed it.
No matter who you are, where you're from, what color your skin is, anything about you, it does help to be able to relate to the person on screen. And it's really hard to get into something when you don't see yourself represented in that. And I never wanted to be the best woman. I just wanted to be the best.
I think that's the best approach and attitude you can have about anything.
Just tell them to smash the like button.
Smash the like button.
Just smash it.
If you're into those type of things, right? Hi everyone, Felipe here for Get a Grip, together with Gabriel, and unfortunately we don't have Sam here with us today, but we have a very special guest. She is Kirby Bridges. She is the Director of Content for Essential Tennis. And Essential Tennis is an online tennis instruction company, and they do some amazing content, and they're creating content all the time. So far we have been seeing the perspective of creating content from the guys behind the cameras, editing, etc. So let's hear a little bit from someone that is preparing all of that content to be shared online, and that's all they do for their business. So Gabe, she is your contact, you know her really well. What can you tell us about her before we get her in here?
I've done work for Essential Tennis for probably 5 years now, and I met Kirby out 3 or 4 years ago, I think now. And she's basically at this point my main contact for content. She lets me know what projects are in the pipeline. She develops, what each video is going to be, who's going to be assigned to that project, when it's due, what the goals are, where it's going to be distributed. So I work with her pretty much every day, working to help develop content. And she also manages, I kind of come in off the side as a shooter editor, but they've got in-house editors, they've got other freelance editors and shooters, so she manages a fairly large team of people.
Okay, that sounds very good. I mean, it is a very, it's a position with a lot of responsibility. I mean, she is, how many followers do Essential Tennis have?
They have over 100,000 now, I believe.
Okay, so they have a little bit more than Get a Grip, I think.
We have 46, I think.
I'm actually really looking forward to hear from her, so let's bring her in. Hey Kirby, how are you?
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
It's absolutely our pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for taking time out of your day. I know you're at work at Essential Tennis right now. So I guess bird's eye view, what can you tell us about Essential Tennis and like what it is in terms of an online business, and then what your main function is there?
Well, like you guys described, Essential Tennis is an online tennis instruction company, which is a completely different model from what the traditional club is like. Usually people are used to going to a brick and mortar building, playing on court, renting it for an hour, and maybe taking a lesson once a week with a pro. And instead we give you the ability to really do it from anywhere. We give you the ability to practice your game from home, listen to it in the car, do whatever using our videos. So it's really beneficial for people all over the world, whether you're on a remote island and you don't have access to coaching or you can't afford it financially. It offers a lot of great opportunities for people to expand the game of tennis.
Did you go to school, and then did you work anywhere before going to Essential Tennis? How did this kind of come into your life?
Well, so my background is basically 50-50 tennis and broadcasting. I started playing tennis when I was 5 and started teaching when I was 13. And I was competing at a national level, so that's deeply grounded into just my identity, I guess you could say. But besides that, when I was in high school, I started producing my first TV shows for the school. And then I later went on and got my degree in broadcasting, and I put those two things together after college and went to work for Tennis Channel in Los Angeles before coming out to Wisconsin to work for Essential Tennis.
And so if you were at a large company like the Tennis Channel, what is it about Essential Tennis that convinced you to make the change?
Well, I really love being able to bite off into something and to develop it into something that's greater than ourselves. I think that's part of why I liked coaching in the first place. Before Tennis Channel, even before I even went back to school to finish my degree, I was running clubs in Nebraska and the Hamptons, and I love coaching for that aspect, because my ultimate goal is to make that player better than myself. And it's the same thing when it comes to this. It's building this business and being able to provide this content for thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people allows us to really do something greater. And I am so in love with that concept and being a part of that. It's a good feeling.
I have a question, actually, from that would probably come before this one. How did you get interested in studying broadcast? I mean, you're a sports person. Where was the connection with going to TV or going in front of the camera or being behind the camera?
Well, I think my earliest memory is actually really deeply rooted within tennis. That when I told you I took my first tennis lesson when I was 5 years old, and the pro actually said to me, your homework, Kirby, is you have to go home tonight and find tennis on TV, turn down the volume, and talk about it. And that is how you're going to learn what's going on the screen. And so I had this desire from a really young age to become a tennis commentator. And so already I was really hooked. And as soon as I started those classes in TV production in high school, I fell completely head over heels for every aspect of it. There's a different piece of the puzzle that puts it all together in the end, whether it's the lighting or the camera or all of these things that go together, and if one is not quite right, then the whole thing suffers. And so I'm really passionate about each side of it, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera. It's just really fun to me.
And what did your family think about all of that? I mean, I know a lot of people that if you tell your parents that you want to study something, anything remotely close to entertainment, they're like, no, go study something else, like some real job.
I think that entertainment seems like more of a real job than being a tennis pro did. So whoa. I think they were okay with it. When I told them, I remember calling my parents and saying, I just got back from New York and I'm going to go move to the Hamptons and teach tennis. And they were like, okay. So I've always just sort of done what I wanted to and followed where the wind took me. So as these opportunities have unfolded, it just seemed really, really natural to me. And my family's been really supportive of that.
That's
Lucky
amazing.
For me.
It's very interesting to hear how someone, no matter who it is, gets interested in broadcast video and etc. and actually goes and studies that, because nowadays it's actually easier for everyone if they want to work with video, but you really pursued going to the university and studying that. So that's really interesting to hear. What was your thought process behind that?
I just didn't know any other way. We were still as an industry on that brink where you had to go and learn the craft. You couldn't just pick up your phone and create content. The word content to me didn't really exist when I was in school. And I only graduated when I was 25. I was in and out of school. But I graduated 4 years ago. And at that time, there was the start of this digital education, but it just wasn't there yet, at least where I went to school. And so to me, I didn't think there was any other option. Now, of course, after I moved to LA, I worked with this director who taught me so much over at Tennis Channel, and he told me that one time he got up in front of a college classroom and told everyone to drop out of school right now and just move to LA and work as a PA, get coffee, do whatever you have to do to learn every little thing around in every position on set, and that's the way that you get the experience. And at this point, I agree with that, and I would give the same advice. So I'm not sure if I really needed the degree, but it definitely got me to my job now, so I am grateful to have it. But I've thought about you guys actually in the sense that you have to, doing what you do, you have to be able to sell it to people why your services are needed, why it's so important to have the experience that you're bringing to the table. So I've been curious to hear from you guys about how you go about selling that. And
Well, I should turn the table now. Okay.
Yeah, no
Gabriel,
pressure.
with you.
Well, just like your former teacher telling the students to go to LA and serve coffee, be a grip, help out on set. As one man or one woman bands, we have to do the same thing. As you have to do your own. You have to find your clients. You have to shoot. You have to edit. You have to do graphics. I mean, you learn a little bit about all the different pieces that go into it, and I think that groundwork, even if your goal ultimately is just to be a DP or just a director, or understanding how to do what everybody else does, I think is crucial to doing your job well. So yeah, and as someone who dropped out of college to do this, I tend to think that, now granted, I don't want to go to a doctor who studied in his parents' basement.
right.
Certain professions require a certain type of education, but just getting your hands on this stuff and actually doing it, I think, is the best path you can choose for video.
I said this a few times before. I keep on asking myself why I chose to work with video, to be honest. Because as a business owner and someone that needs to offer this as a service, and in the country where I am, things are very expensive, and what we get for our work is not very high. It's actually lower than what you guys get. So I keep on asking myself why that. And I think a lot of people might ask themselves as well, like, why do I have to get all of this equipment, spend all of this money, and then the return sometimes is not great. And I think it comes to liking to do this and liking to be tortured, because that's the only answer I have.
For punishment.
And there you went again, the microphone.
Torturing your microphone.
Yeah, it's actually my camera, but yeah, you guys are seeing from one camera and there's the other. Well, it's complicated. Anyway, but yeah, it's kind of a little torture that you're like, okay, I have to spend all of this money, like these super expensive cameras, lenses, and lights, and a bunch of other extra accessories that you end up not thinking about sometimes. Like, oh, that little microphone costs $400, and that stand for the light, and that stand for the microphone, and that little light that costs a lot of money as well. And then suddenly someone asks you, can you do it for free? Can you do it for $200? And then you look at the person and like. Well,
do you think that comes from their own ignorance, that they
Yes.
just don't? Because I think what makes me think that is that if a finished product is really high quality, then it goes together so seamlessly that it looks easy. The same is true in tennis. When people watch Wimbledon, it looks so easy. Oh, it's just easy. They hit the ball across the court and it's no big deal. And then people go out on the court and they try it themselves.
How they got there, right?
It's not, right. So I think it's the same as video production.
It's a lot like video editing, because unless you're going for something super stylized, the best edit is one that the audience never notices. So it's as if you didn't even do anything. And if it seems like you didn't do anything, then what are they paying for?
It looks easy, yeah.
Yeah, so I think by and large, yeah, it's ignorance. Some people do know full well what it costs. They're just trying to see what they can get you for.
That's true too.
A recent client I had, they asked me for a quote. They sent the quote, like the real quote without any discounts or anything. And they're like, wow, that much? Yes. And then I explained to them, look, there is a lot of work that goes behind the scenes getting an interview done, an interview in another country. In 2 different countries, there is a lot of work that goes there, besides all the knowledge that you need to have before that in order to make sure that these interviews and the whole content is going to look good. And then he's like, okay. And I knew that they thought that I was just going to appear with a camera, put it on a tripod, and that would be it. So I think part of their ignorance is not even knowing everything that goes behind. Suddenly I arrive with a car full of equipment, full of bags, and he looks and you see that he's speechless. And then you start setting up, and there was a question at some point asking, do you really need half an hour to an hour to set up everything? And I said, yes. One, I don't know the location. I have never been to the location. I have to look around, find a good angle, and then once I find a good angle, I have to start setting up all the tripods, the cameras, the lights, the microphones. And then after that, I'm gonna have to get my assistants gonna sit there, and I'm gonna start adjusting things in one camera, adjusting things on the other camera. And then suddenly, half an hour to an hour, it was the setup. And then there is, for example, we're interviewing a person, just like 6 questions, and I asked for a slot of 2 hours. Now, 2 hours can seem a little bit excessive, but if you're working with someone that has never been in front of the camera before, and you're going to need to coach them a little bit, you need to get them a little bit used to being in front of the camera, forgetting about the camera and things like that. So those hours, they go like that.
Well, and it depends on the turnaround time that's required. Like, so Kirby, I know shooting and doing post-production for you for years, like, on average, how many original videos would you say you put out a week and then a month?
A week we put out, we've actually slowed down to 3 or 4, but the goal is 5. And there have been times that we've put out every day. So the goal is to continually push it even more and more, where we are uploading every day. And as far as original content, it's not just that, YouTube is just one platform. When it comes to Facebook and Instagram, we also, that for sure has original content that goes out every single day. Our director of social media is always looking for new content, because the nature of the beast there is so different, where she's posting 5 times a day instead of 1. So I think of it as this giant content monster that has to be fed, and it's always hungry.
Well, and I know you've got some content where it's like maybe as simple as like a FaceTime call where you're interfacing with students, but a lot of your content is 2 to 3 cameras, these big multicam shoots. I know your main camera is a Sony FS7. Your B cam is a GH5, sometimes a GH4 for your C cam, which is normally on a crane. So what's it like for you to try to, like, I realize most of the time you're not setting up the cameras yourself, but you have to plan these shoots and you have to orchestrate everything. What's that like for you, like on a weekly basis, trying to manage these large of shoots?
It really depends, because the amount is so great. We have to, it's a constant juggling process of what can we do, what can we accomplish out of the resources that we have at our disposal today. So one of our greatest challenges is how quickly the market adapts. So, I mean, I look back, and I've been here for over 2.5 years now, and when I first came to Essential Tennis, I am such a planner that I planned out every week what we were going to do, what our schedule would be for 6 months. And I just think, bless my little heart. I just couldn't, I had to have control and had to know what we were doing so that I could do a really good job of producing those videos. But now I realize that it's hard sometimes, most times, to plan through the end of the week. We do our best, but I like to think of the schedule as this living, breathing organism now that continually changes, because from day to day, it changes so quickly about what people want to see.
Yeah, and what factor kind of determines that? What makes it so up and down? Is it just because of what people crave online, or what types of videos do well this week and not the next week? Like what is it exactly? Have you been able to put your finger on what changes the pattern over time?
It's all of those things, but it's a constant, the sophistication of the market. People are getting smarter and smarter to it all the time as it becomes more and more normalized. And another thing that we're always looking at are our stats. We look at watch time and audience retention, and we are doing everything we possibly can to inflate those numbers, because those are the numbers that really, really help when you're trying to get your video seen.
Yeah, I know, and you and I have talked about this, but where I'll help you guys produce a video, and then maybe it's a 5-minute video, and you see that 90% of the audience drops off at 20 seconds. That's like,
yeah, I try to keep those stats away from you. I know it's pretty soul crushing.
Yeah, that's like suicidal thought territory. It's like the opposite, but it's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
And so, have you found any tricks? Because a lot of our audience, the 46 people out there, might be creating content for the web. And granted, they're not dealing with, quite such a large ecosystem and 100,000 of subscribers, but they're going to be affected by the same, metrics. So what advice would you have for, pretend Get a Grip is monetized and we're making our living doing this. What advice would you give to a small team of people trying to create content for the web and trying to make money doing it?
I would say consistency is key. You guys are putting out content once a week, and that's a really great start. So consistency and figuring out the number one thing to keep in mind is who your audience is. If you're looking to grow and you're looking to monetize, then you are at the disposal of who wants to watch you and whose attention you have. So you really need to understand that person and create a connection point with them. And a lot of that comes through being personal and telling stories and just being really authentic. Another side, so that's part of the just development side as far as giving people exactly what they want. The other side is looking at stats and trying to figure out what can we do to enhance our watch time. And I would say, build SEO by creating really solid titles, again, that stem back to giving your audience exactly what they want. So those are a few things that, as a smaller channel, I'd really focus on first and foremost, just delivering an abundance of value to people.
Okay, I have a question. When you look at the stats of your audience, tennis, so I think this can go 50-50. What is the majority of your audience? Are they male or female? And why would you think that's the case?
Really good question. So the majority of our audience on YouTube, well, on across all platforms, is male. It's heavily male dominated, and but the gap has been bridged a little bit since I came on in 2.5 years ago. So right now on YouTube, it's about, I think, 85% male and 15% female. And then on Facebook, it's a little bit closer than that. I want to say it's 70-30. I might be off a little bit there, but it's closer. And the reason why, that's a really good question. I try to figure that out. I don't exactly have a direct answer there. It might be because it's just what men are searching for. Maybe it's become more normalized. Maybe men are seeking sports content more than women. I'm really not sure, but it is something that I would love to open up because, and I've always really, really wanted to tap into that market, not just because it's a large number of people, but because it's a large number of people that I want to communicate with.
It's more than half the world's population, so that's a big market.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a big market.
and I think everyone wants to have their content being accessed by everyone, really, men, women, children, adults, as long as the content is for all of those audiences. But what I find that we always struggle in STEM, so in all technology sectors, we struggle in media production, we struggle in sports, is really to get the attention of women. And I think a good reason why Essential Tennis has even those 15-20% of women watching is because of you, right? So, for example, what would make you watch a piece of content about, let's say, technology? Would it be because there would be a woman talking about it, or is it just content related?
To be honest, that would probably really help. It's no matter who you are, where you're from, what color your skin is, anything about you, it does help, as we kind of mentioned earlier, those connection points, to be able to relate to the person on screen. And it's really hard to get into something when you don't see yourself represented in that at all. So yes, absolutely, that's a really good point, that when you see, as a woman, and you see a woman on screen, then it does make it a lot more approachable that someone's going to be speaking your language.
Yes, you saw a lot of women on screen, or you saw some women on screen when you decided to get into media production. When you're playing tennis, because I don't follow tennis at all. I'm sorry. So I don't know what are the commentators that are there on TV, because normally for other sports I see too many men. I don't see a lot of women commenting. So I'm actually even trying to go back into that earlier question about what got you there. I wonder if you had a female role model that you looked to, for example, because of going into media.
I absolutely had a female role model in the coaching sphere of tennis, but as far as commentators, I think that the women were equal parts role models as the men for me. And the reason I say that was because it might be over 90% of tennis commentators are absolute legends of the game. So I think I never really saw myself as one of them because they're all multiple Grand Slam winners, they're some of the greatest of all time. And I knew that that's not how I'm going to create my name. It's in tennis, if you're going to be of that level by the time that you're a teenager, and my ship had sailed early on. So, but as far as role models go, yes, I had a coach in particular, and she wasn't even my personal coach, but she was around. And when I think back, as far as who had the greatest amount of influence on me, it was far and away her, because she was the only coach I really ever had that I really thought, she gets me and she speaks my language. And it made a tremendous impact on my life in tennis and for me personally.
Okay, that's a very nice learning experience for everyone out there, I guess, if they want to expand the audience that they are reaching. I mean, I can't become a woman from night to day. And
you can.
Actually,
if you can dream it, you can do it.
Okay, let me change that.
Felipe.
There's still hope for you.
I don't want, but I would love to see us having a frequent female guest
Yes.
or part of our group, because I think there's too many men.
Well, there are, and the odd thing for me is, like, I don't want to have a woman on just because she's a woman, because that's like exploiting half the sex. Like I had Kirby on because I respect Kirby, and I've worked with her, and I know she knows what she's talking about.
And there are amazing women out there in our business. We all know that.
Oh yeah, do we know them? How do we get them on the show?
I mean, we know that they exist. We know their names, but we don't have contact with them, which is a problem.
Yes.
I think you just have to try because, I think women are really, really open to the idea of and receptive to helping that cause out and explaining it further. Because to me, the thing about making how do I say this? The thing about creating a space where you can have more women featured is that, first of all, you just have to represent them, and it starts with one. So this is a good starting point, guys. And
Yes.
then I'm proud of you.
47 subscribers, here we come.
But the other thing is industry-wide, just creating a safe space that would nurture that environment and make it something that would be appealing to women to be a part of, and just having more faces, more people who look different and have different perspectives, different thoughts to share. It will make it that much better for everybody. We can all learn something and be bigger and better.
I think that's definitely something that we want to get to, right, Gabe?
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't want to be in a room full of me. Like,
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't learn if everybody in the room already thought and looked and felt the same way that I do. Like, I need people with different experiences and different backgrounds and different thoughts and different things in their imagination. So yeah, I don't necessarily need a show with just all white males at all. That's not what I look for in my life. So yeah, the more diversity in the sex and in the race, and like, none of those things really make any difference to me. I've had a number of people contact me over the years to try to work for me. And I'm not big enough to hire people, but they've always been these younger girls just like right out of college. And I've met with all of them. I'm just not in a position to hire, but like, it doesn't even cross my mind really. Like, I wouldn't hire them just because they were a woman. Right? Because I almost feel like that's not fair to them. Like, I would want to hire the person who's most qualified no matter what they look like or sound like, or how old they were.
And in tennis, I'm really lucky that although I've seen different experiences, I've never experienced them myself as far as being in video production, being a woman. I guess I can tell one story. I remember sitting outside of somebody's office and overhearing them bark about how this host is getting harder and harder to light. We're gonna have to find somebody else because she's almost 35 now. And for me, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm working as an on-camera personality. I'm working under this slim window that, okay, so you're telling me that my looks are only going to last me for a prime of 10 years and then I get shipped out to pasture. I don't think so. But on the tennis side of things, the experiences that I've encountered have been much more extreme. And it's just so important. I'm glad to hear you say that you're doing her a disservice by hiring her just because she's a woman, because I remember when I was coaching full-time at a club, I would wake up every day feeling and actually thinking to myself that I have to fight today. If I want to get my voice heard, I was like, every day I'd go into work pumped up and ready to rumble, because I knew that I had to find different ways to have my voice heard. And I never wanted to be the best woman. I just wanted to be the best.
The best.
Period.
Yes.
That's it.
I think that's the best approach and attitude you can have about anything.
Yeah, completely agree. And Gabe, do you have any other question there on your list?
Since
we improvised a lot.
Well, of course, but that's sort of the nature of a free-form conversation. I want to know how many editors are in your pipeline, either that work directly for Essential Tennis or are contracted out.
So it kind of fluctuates, but at the moment we have 6 in the pipeline. So there are that whether it's a guy who shoots vlogs, or we've got our in-house editor and you and a couple others, and it takes a village to create content.
As you look to grow, like what's the biggest bottleneck right now? Is it not enough hours in the day or not enough shooters and editors? Like, my feeling is that if you had 12 editors, you would just produce twice as much content and you'd be happy to do so. I mean, what's your bottleneck really?
Oh, well, I mean, if I'd always take more hours in the day, that's always a bottleneck. But besides that, it's overcoming the challenge of fluctuating resources. So, for example, right now I've got a couple of editors out of rotation, and we have to do the best with what we have. And so to me, it's the focus becomes less on putting out as many videos as possible and putting out instead really strategic videos that will allow us to really reach people in the most effective, efficient way.
Well, and that leads me into my second of three questions. How do you balance your quantity over quality? I mean, you've known me for a few years now. I always push for quality. I always want to light everything and use cinema lenses, and it's just not practical when you have to put out that much content. So, but I know we've done a few things where we were able to do that, which obviously I ate that up. I love that. But how do you find that balance? Because, maybe you can do one high quality video a week, or you could do 7. And that doesn't mean they're low quality, but they're just, the production value isn't the same. How do you balance that out?
Well, you have to pick your priorities. So if your priority is to to gain as many new subscribers as you can, then you go for the style of content that would bring in as many people as possible. And so we talk about that as width. So for example, we shot a video a couple years ago called Tennis Beer Pong, and it went super viral. I think it has over 2 million views at this point, and it was great. So many people saw it, and people now associate us with that video. However, it didn't affect our bottom line at all. So that's something that you have to constantly juggle. If you want to make content, you have to figure out what that priority is. Is it subscribers, or is it building a relationship with really, that's the depth side of the format of content? Or are you trying to is your bottom line the almighty dollar? And so making the video that is going to make people want to sign up for even further coaching. It's just really up to those priorities.
And I know there's a tendency to think that when a dollar is attached to the video, and this isn't just Essential Tennis, this is just business universally, that people think it cheapens it, but it's like, look, if there aren't dollars, none of us can afford to do any of this anyway. So there are plenty of cases where it is just about the money and not the instruction, or the whatever other thing of value might be offered. But I think a lot of people just miss that. Like, if we didn't generate any revenue from this, you'd be watching an empty computer screen, because there would be no content here right now for you.
Right. Yeah, and we've always operated under this core principle that we are always going to give more than we receive, and so it's our goal. We have thousands of videos online. So if you have a problem that you're looking to improve, there's always a video for you and we're constantly creating, and that's never going to change. But what people should realize is that it's us asking for for you to be interested in a course and receiving more coaching isn't about being greedy. It's about being able to continue what we're doing and make it bigger, and being able to affect more people's lives in a positive way. So it starts with just one person, and sometimes it is just $1.
Nice. Last question in that trio of questions. Which editing software do you guys use? Do your contractors use different software than what you use in-house, or what are you working with?
We have had trouble in the past. We've never been able to sync up if it's inconsistent. So we require everyone to use Final Cut Pro. So I feel like we can end it right here.
Yeah. Boom. That's the whole.
Did I get it right?
If that's what you use, then that's the right answer. I do remember you brought somebody on who was using Premiere, and you guys asked me if that was okay, and there's nothing wrong if he uses Premiere, but since the way your workflow is, like, for example, I'll shoot something, I'll import the media, I'll edit it, but I have to deliver that project to another editor, and if they can't open it, so I basically said, yeah, sorry, guy, you have to use Final Cut Pro, because otherwise it doesn't, as you mentioned, it's just going to sit there. Nobody else will be able to touch it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's just, it's not.
It's not unfortunate.
It's just not compatible. But what's unfortunate is we've had different times where editors would try to edit something in Final Cut Pro, and we thought, in Premiere, and we thought, oh, it'll be all right. We'll figure this out. But something inevitably goes wrong, and where we have to essentially recut the video. And I think that's everybody understands that's the worst thing you can do for your workflow. Nobody got time for that.
Nobody's got time for that. I know you have your vlogger, and there's another guy who uses Vegas on their own time, Sony Vegas. Felipe, that is an appropriate response. And again, nothing against Vegas at all. It's just
I'm just surprised.
There aren't many people using that anymore, so I always tease them about it.
Well, I also will say they are young guys and they're learning. It's their first.
But that's what surprised me the most, is for being
I actually have been really surprised too. I would expect them to say Premiere.
Probably, yeah. I would expect Premiere would be their first choice, and then probably Final Cut. I never would guess that a young guy or girl would pick up Vegas or had even heard of it.
I would expect actually DaVinci. Today I would expect DaVinci because it's for free.
True.
Okay.
And it's a big NLE, has a lot of features, and it's for free. It's really not bad. I would expect someone to either start with that if they're on a PC, or if they're on a Mac, they already have the investment on buying a Mac. Spending $299 for Final Cut Pro 10 is not a big deal. And if they're students, they can get the whole Pro apps, which is like 5 apps for $199.
$200. Yep.
Yeah. So it's.
Wow.
My expectations would be that. Yeah.
I would even expect them to say that they were using iMovie over what they're actually using now. So that was a big surprise to me. We'll change their ways.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We'll wave the Final Cut Pro 10 hand. Converts always needed.
I have one question for Kirby, if it would be possible for you. It's just here an idea that I had. Gabe doesn't know about it yet. If you would agree to look into the camera and do just a quick teaser, like 15, 20 seconds, saying, come watch this interview with me at Get a Grip. We are talking about this, this, and that. So if you're interested, click on the link below. Just something along those lines. Maybe don't know if Gabe is okay with that, but my idea is just to get a teaser before the episode is out, so people know, oh, there is Kirby coming up on the next episode. So just create a little bit of hype there.
I see your angle. We're manipulating people's emotions with our first female guest. I'm fine with it if Kirby's fine with it.
I'm fine with it. Which episode is it? Is this episode 9?
8.
This is 8. Okay.
8, which is the number for chaos. So all things are just going to fly apart after this episode.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so you just want me to look straight in camera and not Skype camera, but my actual camera.
Yes, your actual camera, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you call your audience anything? Does your audience have a name?
No. Get a
Suckers. Yeah.
What up, suckers?
What up, suckers? You got nothing better to do? Yeah.
Come hang out with me.
Join me in my basement.
Maybe Grippies. Okay.
Nice.
Hey guys, it's Kirby Bridges. Come and watch episode 8 of Get a Grip with me. We're going to be talking about all things video production and our favorite software, Final Cut Pro. Thanks for watching.
Amazing.
You wanna, anything else?
Felipe, I didn't mention that I mentioned it to Kirby, I think, yesterday, but like her on camera presence is way more practice than you or I. So that's why she can just turn for somebody else's show and just like nail our intro, whereas you and I would take like 5 tries.
Oh no, yeah, there is no comparison at all. And Kirby, I've seen your videos, and yeah, there is.
Well,
I'm a total amateur. I still have a lot to learn in regards to
thank
looking
you.
into the
I
camera.
feel like a total amateur, so we're in the same boat. Just takes a lot of practice.
Well, you did it in 1 try, so this is always impressive.
Well, miracles happen sometimes. Gabe will tell you how many takes it usually takes me.
That's a good point. Yeah, and normally it's when I've got the handheld rig and I'm holding it steady, and I'm walking backwards, and then like 3 sentences in, she's like, and I got to do it again. I got to by the end of it, it's like it's a tricky thing.
I say a lot, yeah. And instead of like, that's a bad habit of mine. Not saying but like ending up in a sentence and then and just bailing and saying, okay, let's redo it, instead of just trying to figure out, you push on and make it happen.
Well, from my standpoint, I'd always rather take it from the top. If there's time, just to get a smooth
Me
take.
too.
But
No, absolutely. Every time that someone asks me, can I continue from the middle of the phrase? I'm like, can you do it from the top?
Yeah. I tease about I mean, I am shaky, but like I'd still rather get it from the beginning, even if I'm tired, because fundamentally, I want to end up, because after I've shot something and I import it and I'm editing it, I have to watch it over and over and over again, and so as many cringeworthy moments as I can avoid having to rewatch, the better it is for me. So I'd rather just watch a solid take that was shot properly and delivered properly than piece together takes to try to make it work.
I mean, it is pretty funny though. I do always feel really bad when you're like shaking. Not that bad, but
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
That's when I'm at my best, I'm sure.
Okay, we recorded this for almost an hour already, so
Right on.
I have to let you go. Otherwise, if it would be up to us, we would just hold you here for another 4, 3, or 5 hours. But
Well, I'll take that. I got time.
careful what you wish for.
I know. I have stuff that's due for Gabe.
Yeah, I've got an edit due for Kirby by the end of the day. So, Kirby, thanks so much for taking the time out, and thank Ian for letting us sort of take over that corner of the office today. We really appreciate it. It was great to have you on.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kirby.
So thanks everyone for watching episode 8 of Get a Grip. Felipe, you do the subscribe and link talk now.
Yes, of course, people. You know the drill, right? Facebook, like us there. YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell, give a like if you liked. If you don't, just dislike, whatever. One thing is leave comments. Your opinion is definitely very much appreciated. And of course, one thing that I wanted to say is we are not holders of the truth, right? It's always opinions. Whenever we ask someone, they're giving their opinions. If Gabe is saying something, it's his opinion. If I'm saying something, it's my opinion. If Sam is saying something, it's his opinion. Besides the sun coming up every day and coming down every day, I mean, other than that, everything is an opinion. So thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.